Now, you know, I assume, that he'd been talking about stabbing people for almost 20 hours. Am I right? You know that. Those are facts.
I know he had been talking about it.
And you know that then he did stab 3 people, 16 hours later, right?
On the max, yes.
And then after he stabbed those 3 people, when people were following him, and at a point where he was washing blood off of his arms and off of the knife that he used to stab people, then he threatened to stab the people that were following him and watching him do that, right?
Yes.
And that, I mean, even that fact right there seems to show actually quite a bit of awareness about his what had just happened and his surroundings. Is that right? I mean, do you agree with me on that? That he must have known pretty much what was going on by that point. When he's washing blood off his arms, he's threatening to stab people that are following him.
I don't believe that he would have known that in the way that you're suggesting. He knew something happened, yes.
He knew something happened? Well, what he said even was, I'll stab you like I did those people on the train.
Yeah.
So he knew he'd stab people on the train.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Your examination, of course, and we've heard this a couple times through Mr. Shull, led to a conclusion based on your training experience, your education, that Jeremy Christian had no diagnosable mental illness. Is that right?
He had no diagnosis that has a diagnosis in the DSM. That's correct.
And the DSM is what, it's what people use to diagnose mental illness, is it not?
It is what people use.
Including neuropsychologists like yourself.
Yes.
And so nothing in this book, with all of its information, nothing in this book fits, or Jeremy Christian doesn't fit, what's going on in Jeremy Christian's mind doesn't fit within anything that's in this book. You couldn't find anything.
Not with the test results that I had, no. What I found is that there's not a diagnosis for executive function dysfunction.
Can you say it?
There's not a diagnosis for executive functioning dysfunction.
And if there had been executive functioning dysfunction, you would have been able to diagnose it?
Yes.
So it's not there as far as your expert opinion goes.
And this isn't an uncommon issue that we deal with.
Now let's use a hypothetical. Like, what if someone planned to agitate a train load of people until the point where it became physical? Is that a plan you think he could make?
I don't think he would make that plan.
No, I didn't ask you if he would make that plan. I asked you if he thought he could make that plan.
But you're asking me to look at his history, and you're asking me to look at my tests, and you're asking me for my opinion. And what I see here is that this is not a person who makes those kinds of plans.
So even though he said the night before, get away or I'll stab you, even though he said, I'm about to stab some people, and even though, right as the physical altercation took place on the train and he withdrew a knife from his pocket, it's still your testimony that he couldn't form a plan and execute that plan, and that's how it played out. Is that your testimony, Doctor?
That is.
Are you a forensic neuropsychologist?
You know I'm not.
And there is a specialty called forensic neuropsychology. Is that correct?
Yes, there is.
And you have not gotten that certification?
And this wasn't an aid and assist.
That's not what I asked. I asked if you've gotten a certification to be a forensic neuropsychologist.
I am not a forensic neuropsychologist.
Thank you. I have no more questions.